And now for something completely different.
Forget everything you've been told by others before. Get ready for the real deal, the full story, real talk about money, markets, life. Now, it's The Real Investment Show, presented by RIA Advisors.
And good morning. Welcome to Financial Fitness Podcast. You early birds, glad you're here with us today. Assuredly, we're going to be talking about a subject that'll put you right back to bed. But it's important, and you should know it. And it's going to be Social Security today. A little bit about Social Security reform proposals currently circulating in Congress. As we know, we're facing a deadline in 2033 where only 77% of benefits will be paid out. So before I get into some of these proposals, and some of these you have heard from me, you've heard from Jonathan, you've heard from Danny before. So these are not new. They're just becoming more prevalent in the conversation. And that's great. That's important. So the Social Security Administration. So one of the frustrations I've usually had with sending people to the Social Security Administration has been customer service. And I would say 2 out of every 5 times incorrect answers or no answers to questions, and then they'll come to us and we have to clarify it or correct it. And that's okay. That's what we're here for, right? And again, Social Security administration employees are not supposed to give any type of strategic advice about Social Security maximization. It's just the facts. But then a lot of times the facts are wrong, and you should be checking with your financial advisor, who hopefully is well equipped to discuss these items with you. So we have the commissioner of SSA, Frank Bisagnano. Hope I just massacred his name. They have talked about over time some improvements to the system, because obviously the technology is probably real 1983 over there. So here are some of the improvements that you will see on customer service. 24/7 access to the personal My Social Security account when the website was down generally 29 hours a week, right? So now it went from being down a good amount of time to you can log in and get your statement. And you should. You should be logging in. I don't care if you're 40 or you're 60. You should be logging into ssa.gov, set up your ID, and do check your statements, check your earnings histories. It's important for you to do that, right? 65% more calls were answered in 2025 compared to 2024. The average speed of the national 800 number is now in the single digits. Technology improvements, which was absolutely needed, allowed 90% of the calls to now be resolved via self-service or convenient callbacks. So now they upgraded the phone system to support the field offices. 30% of the calls handled instantaneously. Average wait time for visitors, and this is a big gripe, because when you go to the SSA, you're going to be planning to sit there all day. And I will tell you, when it comes to government administrations, this has not changed. When I was a kid, my mother was on welfare, and she would drag me to the welfare office. That smells ironically putrid, like the post office does today. So they must be using the same wax on the floors or whatever, because I walk into a post office and I get hit with that smell, and it just reminds me of sitting in the welfare office for 8 hours, okay, in the 70s. So the average wait time has decreased today for Social Security offices nearly 30% in 2025. And Those with an appointment, and this is how you should do it, are waiting about 6 minutes to be helped. That is an amazing improvement. I have people that have able to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the Social Security Administration line. Sending over 3.1 million payments, addressed waste, fraud, abuse, accuracy of payments. So again, these are things that should have been done a long time ago. And for the sake of all of you, it's good that it's available. So, because usually there are times when it is worth it to go into the Social Security office, depending on the claiming strategies, especially when you're looking at, say, for example, divorce situations and a divorced spouse is eligible for spousal benefits. That being said, we're looking at lawmakers now looking at Social Security reform, and I'm sort of surprised. It's a little bit sooner than I thought they would get to it. And it doesn't mean it's going to get anywhere. But it does mean that at least we're somewhat having the conversation. So there was a 2025 report from Allianz Life found that 53% of workers surveyed believe Social Security will be a key contributor to their retirement income, right? Younger generations, which makes sense, like Gen Z and millennials, are less trusting of the benefit. So Cerulli did a study, found that 58% of 401k participants in these groups plan to use their personal retirement accounts to fund their lifestyle. Just a minimal number at 5% for Gen Z. 16% of millennials believe Social Security will be a major contributor to their retirement. There are a lot of times with, say, Gen Z especially, that we're not even, as we look through their cash flow analysis, we're not even looking to include Social Security, or we could possibly reduce the benefit overall. Before I get into these, the one thing I will say, the one thing I will tell you is, and we hear this a lot, if Social Security benefits are going to be cut by 24%, by 2033, 2034, I'm going to take it now. I'm going to take it early. I'm going to take my Social Security early. I'm going to get what I can out of the system. Well, first of all, if you're taking it under full retirement age and you're working, that's not going to work because you'll have benefits withheld and you just wasted your time. Unless you're not exceeding certain income thresholds, which I think is close to $19,000. So if you're working your full-time job and just decide to get yourself in the system, you're wasting your time and your benefit. Not a good idea. One of the things we have to look at as advisors is going past the headlines and looking at research and studies, right? Because headlines, oh, Social Security is going broke. It's not going to be there. Let's put it this way. Is there really any news anymore? It's all content, right? Content is not news. And it seems like we don't like news. We just like these bombastic headlines that, oh, look how many clicks this article got, and it's garbage. And it'll cause you to make the wrong decision, right? So there were studies done that showed that if you took Social Security early, cut off your own nose, despite your own face, because you felt like it was going away and somehow you were special or grandfathered in and the government can do whatever the heck it wants, and that may not be the case. That money you collected, say you weren't even working before full retirement age and you took it and you were getting your benefit with the 23% haircut up front. Did you know that if you still would have waited till age 70 to take it, you'd have 55% more benefits over your lifetime? In other words, waiting is still worth it. So if you're taking Social Security just so you start it and there's going to be this grandfathering, okay, you may be all wrong about it. So don't hurt yourself and just get the right information. So there's another study from Transamerica, 2024 survey. this Transamerica Center for Retirement Studies is actually one of the best retirement income think tanks out there. 62% of 10,000 respondents listed addressing Social Security's funding shortfalls as their retirement security priority for policymakers. And that drum is going to only beat harder as we get closer. 82% of retirees in the survey pressed policymakers to tackle the insolvency. So now you're going to see, again, I don't know what the midterms look like, right? Maybe Democrats take hold of the House, whatever it may be. But both sides should really be on board with policies that are going to help. So there are several acts, and we'll talk about them. The Safeguarding American Families and Expanding Social Security Act, the SAFE Act. So what we always talk about this. There's a payroll tax cap. You pay Social Security taxes up to a point, and then it's gone, right? Then you don't pay it anymore. Well, we've talked about and we've looked at through the Department of Actuaries Social Security calculator. You can fix Social Security yourself if you go and look up the tool. The payroll tax cap is lifted so that the taxes are applied to every dollar you make. Okay. Adjust current benefits calculations to increase average monthly benefits by over $150. That's part of the SAFE Act. The update on the annual cost of living adjustments to better reflect the real costs that seniors face. And that is something called the CPI-E, right? It's not the CPI-W. It's looking at, as we say, inflation is different for every household. An elderly household is going to have different inflation than you having kids through college. So this CPI-E, or the Consumer Price Index for the elderly, is probably, or most likely, a better way to adjust the cost of living adjustments. Okay? So those are, you can get the gist through this SAFE Social Security Act, and this is obviously supported by the AFL-CIO, the National Committee to Preserve Social Security, and Medicare, Social Security Works, Retired Americans, all that. Everybody's on board with this. You're going to hear a common theme in all these acts. And the common themes are, one, raise the payroll cap or take the cap off, right? That's probably one of the easiest ways to do it. Personally, every time I pay taxes, I feel queasy and I feel like I'm going to need to puke, because I know where the money goes and I don't like it. When it comes to Social Security, at least I sort of know, although I may be idealistic when it comes to this or blinded, but I sort of do know that where the money is going, and that is to help older Americans who have paid in and depend on Social Security. So that's the SAFE Act. The next is the Social Security Emergency Inflation Relief Act. So with this act, you want to look at maybe saying they want to, all of these acts are designed, like they all could be merged into one, frankly. I don't know why there's so many of them. This is just the inefficiencies of government. Right? They're all looking at either paying more monthly benefits, in changing the COLA calculation to the CPI-E, and raising the payroll cap. But this Social Security Emergency Inflation Relief Act, is a $200. Their proposal is a $200 per month emergency increase to Social Security checks for 6 months. Don't ask me why it's $200, and don't ask me why it's only for 6 months. Then you figure out, when you don't understand it, you understand that Elizabeth Warren introduced it, and then you understand why you don't understand it. Hey, honey, you want a beer? Huh? Okay. So that's that one. So there's a lot of support with that, Chuck Schumer and so forth. So next one, probably one of the better ones, boosting benefits and COLAs for Seniors Act. I don't like cola. I like my Dr. Pepper. Right? So this is again looking at CPI-E versus CPI-W. Okay? So when you look at, and they for years, the CPI-E is sort of stopped calculation. It's sort of in limbo. So the largest differentiators with the CPI-E formula is, think about it, the heavier consideration on what? Medical expenses, along with other costs. So I follow the Senior Citizens League. They're a nonpartisan senior group. They're big advocates for this CPI-E, and it is designed to represent older American spending habits. So as the Social Security's COLA is expected to rise benefits or increase benefits by $56 a month this year, this is really consumed by what? Medicare Part B premiums, right? Up over 7%. So any increase I'm getting on one side, I'm losing it on the other, right? Along with just my normal or overall healthcare costs. And this is sponsored by John Fetterman, Bernie Sanders, some of the names, Elizabeth Warren, protecting the Native Americans. I'm kidding. Sorry. I couldn't help myself today. Listen, this is all positive because, and I understand the arguments on each side of the aisle. Listen, if we would have had that money and put it into the stock market, then it would have been worth more. Or if you would have just given me my money, I would have done a better job. Now, I will say, people that probably listen to this podcast, except Larry, and Larry's gone. Oh, sorry, didn't know that. Okay, who's our new Larry? We don't have a new Larry? I gotta find a new Larry. Is it Donald? Okay, all right. We can all agree on both sides of the aisle that Social Security is important. It has become the pension, right? Therefore, we're going to have to fix it somehow. I think, personally, CPI-E, that's not going anywhere. I do think there will be a discussion about pulling off the payroll cap, taking it down or increasing it, maybe to 250,000, 400,000, whatever, but get in more individuals. Heck, if I were a billionaire and you wanted to tax me, even though I don't believe in that whole you tax me, I don't believe in this zero-sum game, but you told me, if I were a billionaire and you told me that I would pay an extra 1 or 2%, but that was going into exclusively to Social Security, I probably wouldn't have any problem with it because, again, I see the benefit of helping the older generations, and we are all getting older. Our demographics are absolutely terrible, right? We're not having enough babies. So the other one we're looking at here is the Protecting and Preserving Social Security Act. This also goes to the CPI-E. I don't understand why they couldn't. I don't understand this, Brent. Like, why do we have to have all of these? They're all pretty much redundant. They have different funny names. And I wonder who creates all these names. Like, it has to be safe or whatever they do. But most of this is similar. You just needed one particular act to do this.
My cynical response would be
Yes.
that you've got all of these different acts for the purpose of publicity for their authors.
Yes.
And we're coming into midterm season.
There you go. The man just nailed it. Donald said pensions are nice, and they are. And for those people who have them. I envy you. So part of, again, this Protecting and Preserving Social Security Act is to, again, phasing out the caps, a little bit different than removing it, on Social Security contributions gradually over the next 7 years. For now, the current limit is adjusted gross income $184,500. So what they're saying is, listen, over the next 7 years, we want to make sure that more is coming in through payroll tax. The Claiming Age Clarity Act. Now, this one I can get behind. This was introduced in September 2025 before advancing the House Committee on Ways and Means in a 41-1 vote later that month. It would substitute terms like full retirement age and normal retirement age to standard monthly benefit age. It would remove early eligibility age, minimum monthly, and replace it with monthly benefit age. Reject the term delayed retirement credit and look at maximum monthly. So in other words, what they're trying to do is help you understand, because some people don't understand what's full retirement age. Why is it full retirement age? Well, we'll get normal retirement age and also look at early, minimum, maximum, right? So you can understand this is my early benefit. This is my minimum monthly benefit for my full retirement age or normal retirement age and maximum. So it's a bill, any bill that is going to provide clarity to seniors and when they can claim and modernize the technology along with it, I am all for it. Because sometimes it will, if you really understand these three roads of taking benefits, it could deter future beneficiaries from claiming at an earlier age so individuals can maximize their benefit. So this bill is sort of advancing. They were supposed to do this with Medicare, too, where on enrollment periods, take it to one enrollment period. So the overall theme is payroll cap. We're attacking that. We need to raise it. We need to remove it, whatever it is. But there's going to be some manipulation for workers to that payroll cap. Some monthly additional benefit for a certain period of time, which, again, I don't get. I don't know why am I getting $200 for 6 months or 7 months? It's nice. As an elderly person, if I would take it. But I don't understand the gist of it, where the CPI-E is much more beneficial, which means we'd have to sort of reignite those calculations, which is not difficult to do. Overall, I will say, and then I'll add something else here before we close this out. Overall, I'm going to say it's positive that Congress is looking at this now, not waiting till 2031, which is when I thought they would really look like we'll just bypass this. So these key Social Security reform proposals, yes, they overlap. They're currently in Congress. There are some hurdles to them, but they're all headed in the right direction to preserve the benefit. If I were a betting man, I would think the first thing is the payroll cap. I think that's removed or increased. I think that's the easiest way to do it. And that probably, and then getting the language to better, helping people to better understand the repercussions of their actions is also good. Any kind of education is worth it. So now look at Social Security. Charge FICA taxes on political donations as if the recipients were sole proprietors. Okay. As good as anything else I've heard. In your financial plan, and I talked to a client about this yesterday. There's math to it, and there's studies and analysis, but there's a lot of art to it. The art of it, the canvas you create, this blank page before you put a word on it, is going to look different for you than somebody else. But you want to look at, overall, secure income versus variable income. In my way of taking my income, how much I need, how much of it is secured income, pension, Social Security, annuity payouts, whatever it may be, versus variable asset withdrawal, portfolio, stock, and bond, right? I've got to balance these two for me, my ability to take risk, my longevity, possibly based on where my health is, how much, my overall need to feel secure emotionally in retirement and not worried about the gyrations of the stock market, even though I'm willing to take some of that risk. So we have a formula that looks at secure income versus variable income. We want at least 50% of your income coming into your household to be 50%. But I have people that'll tell me they want 80. Or they don't really care. They're not concerned about it. Secured income could be less than 50 and they're fine with that. But those people will probably underspend, and their retirements may not look as rich as those who have a check coming in for life. David Blanchett, one of the best retirement researchers out there, talked about this and said, obviously, people who get guaranteed income spend more. Intuitively, that makes a lot of sense, right? If I'm getting $3,000 a month and I take that $3,000 to zero, I pretty much know I'm getting $3,000 next month. But what if I take $3,000 from my variable asset account in January and there's a 25% correction in the markets? Am I going to feel comfortable taking that $3,000? May I change what I'm looking to do? Possibly. Thus, I might underspend. Even though we probably know there's recovery, even though my portfolio is not down 25% if I'm allocated properly, emotionally, it's going to be tough for me to take a distribution that month. I want those assets to sit there. So you have to look at your own situation and figure out how much guaranteed income do I want? Not just from I want to cover these expenses. I want to feel confident that I won't outlive my money. And I'm willing to have some money in the stock market for inflation to grow over time, leave a legacy. But I want this guaranteed income, at least to cover my fixed expenses. I'll have people that say, Rich, what I want to make sure is if my portfolio, and this is extreme, okay, I admit it, but it does paint the picture. If my stock and bond portfolio goes to zero, I still want to make sure that my fixed expenses are covered. Well, that's guaranteed income. That's making smart decisions with Social Security, pensions, pension options that you may have, or just plain old annuities that provide lifetime income. Right? So it's a blending. That's where the art comes in. The blending of these buckets to get you the income you require, and that will get you to still spend or maintain your lifestyle, even if markets are going through a volatile or corrective phase. Rob, if we just quit wasting money and allowing fraud, there's a lot of fraud out there. My gosh. I think the Medicare fraud is probably worse, but to your point, that would be extremely helpful. The new head of the Social Security Administration, I'm pretty impressed with him. I've listened to him a few times. The modernizing of the systems. I think they found, I don't know how much fraud they did find already. Dead people collecting multiple checks. Dracula's like living high on the Oh, look at me. And I got all these Social Security checks. But I don't drink wine. But I get the best blood on the market. So that's a terrible Dracula impression. It's just too early for this. So just keep in mind, these are acts that are coming out. We know the common themes of these acts. We're going to see some of those come to fruition, and I think the payroll tax one is probably the easiest. But again, also claiming correctly, not letting your emotions get the best of you when it comes to, I got to take it early because it's going away. Studies show that you don't have to do that. And matter of fact, we have software, retirement income software, that we can actually assume benefits are going to get cut by 20% and see how it impacts your entire income picture. So overall, that's the update before I choke to death. We will keep you definitely informed of these changes or as we move forward in the cycle with Social Security. We all spend a lot of time understanding it, studying it, keeping up with it, because Social Security is a very important part of your retirement income picture. And that's all I got for today. Hope you all got something from this. Looks like half the chat room's asleep. But it's important. Sometimes important stuff makes you sleepy. All right. Glad you're here. See you again next week.